Thank you for being here with me today.
Sure.
We got this winter weather approaching. What do people need to know to stay safe?
Sure. So, hypothermia is something that can occur very quickly and unexpectedly. Temps don't have to be sub-zero to get hypothermic. Patients can get hypothermic in temperatures of even 40 degrees, or the elderly and our pediatric population are at risk for hypothermia just being in a cold room or a cold home. Some of the things that are really concerning about hypothermia is sometimes the patient doesn't know that they're becoming hypothermic. It tends to cause confusion, and patients, we call it the umbles, they get stumbling, fumbling, mumbling, and grumbling because they're not able to think properly and they can't function properly. So sometimes we'll have hypothermic patients, they might refuse help because they don't know that they are becoming hypothermic and they're in grave danger. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to quickly identify that there's hypothermia going on, and then we want to rapidly warm them. But you want to be gradual in how you warm them up so you don't cause any sort of rapid changes in the patient's body temperature that can lead to complications.
Yeah, why? Two things going off of that. But I'll start out. Why is it that gradual warming and not like instant? I guess.
Sure, because whenever you warm too quickly, you get shifts sometimes in warm fluid that get shifted to the periphery of the body, and sometimes it can cause a decrease in your core body temperature as all the warm fluid gets shifted to the periphery. And so you have to be somewhat careful as you're warming patients back up.
So if you don't gradually warm someone, it can actually make them colder.
It potentially can. It potentially can. The other thing you want to be really careful about with hypothermic patients is the cardiac membranes are quite irritable. So you want to prevent sudden jolts or rough handling of these patients because it can trigger arrhythmias with their heart and put them into a fatal arrhythmia.
What are some of the symptoms of hypothermia? I know you kind of alluded to the fact it can be tough to deduce, but are there any symptoms you?
Sure. So the first line of defense that your body has is shivering. That's how you know you're being exposed to extreme cold and your body is doing what it can to try to warm itself up. At about 90 degrees, at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, your body starts...
body temperature.
Yes. A body temperature of 95 degrees is where your body starts losing heat faster than it can produce. And so it'll start shivering and it'll start shifting blood from the periphery to the core to try to keep itself warm. Once your body temperature drops below 90 degrees, most patients are no longer able to shiver, and that's a very dangerous point as your body is no longer able to keep itself warm. And from there, you develop confusion as you start getting decrease in mental functioning as well as physical functioning, which leads to confusion. And at that point, patients may not be aware of what's going on to them.
And what's the difference between hypothermia and frostbite?
Sure. So hypothermia is a general decrease in a patient's body temperature, and it affects all parts of their body. In frostbite, you get specific cold injuries to particular parts of the body, and it's going to be on your tips. So on your nose tip, your chin, your fingertips, your toes. And the reason they get frostbite is because as the blood is shifting towards the core of the body and away from the periphery, you lose blood flow to these extremities and they start freezing. And so you will develop ice crystals literally in the cells and in the blood vessels that causes damage. So there's 3 stages of frostbite. There's frost nip, which is just a superficial injury. There's superficial frostbite, which is stage 2, and then you have deep frostbite, which is stage 3, in which there's more extensive damage.
And is it pretty visible when it's?
Yes. It's going to look pale. There may not be good color there. It may appear dusky at times. And in severe frostbite, you also develop very large blisters.
So when people are, as this winter weather's approaching, when should people know, I have this or I see this, I should probably go see a medical professional?
Absolutely. At any concerns, because this can be really difficult to know at times. But if you notice a family member or friend, they've been in a cold environment for a prolonged period of time, and you notice changes to their skin color, you notice changes in their behavior, you should immediately call 911 and seek help.
And that applies to both hypothermia and frostbite?
That's correct. And some of the things that they can do if they suspect hypothermia, if the patient is in any sort of wet clothes or has been exposed to any sort of moisture, get them out of the wet clothes, get them dry, and wrap them in blankets and warm clothing to try to passively warm them gradually. And when it comes to frostbite, we tend to try to rub our fingertips or whatever to try to rewarm them. And you want to avoid that in any sort of frostbite injury, as it can cause further damage. So you want to just apply passive warming techniques with clothing and get them to a hospital so they can be rewarmed properly.